Welcome everybody to our Monday night education. Tonight we're going to be talking about ProbioIQ and supporting the body's frontline defense. And right out of the gate, I decided that I ought to share a little story that I have with our product tonight. And ProbioIQ was a product that kind of shocked me. And the reason is, growing up the way I did, and when we changed our diet when I was in my summer between my sophomore and junior year, I had gone to where eating very healthy and had eaten healthy for years. I wasn't taking medications, was outside interacting with life, all these kinds of different things. And so anytime I had tried a probiotic, I actually could not tell the difference whenever I took it. But when I took the ProbioIQ, because I thought, well, they say we're supposed to take a probiotic. I've always heard it. We'll try this one and see what the difference was. So I noticed immediately that it started addressing some intestinal issues for me. And for those of you that don't know, after my first child was born, and she was born at home, had a midwife, and she was a good, healthy, almost 10-pound baby. But I ended up with issues to where any type of pressure on my abdomen over on the descending colon area would actually give me lots of pain. And so even with, it continued on as more children were born, and it was just something I ended up thinking I was going to have to deal with. So when I got the ProbioIQ, I'm going to make myself a guinea pig and test things. So I actually took the ProBio, was taking one twice a day, and then I took 2 in the morning, 1 in the evening, and then I went to 2 and 2, and then 3 and 2, and 3 and 3, and you can kind of see what I was doing. I was gradually building up, seeing if I could address these issues that were there. And lo and behold, about the point where I hit 4 twice a day, there was all kinds of gases that started being released, and it did create a lot of pain initially, but it moved out. And as it moved out, what I found was that the pain ended up leaving, and I stayed at that high dose for about a week, and then I gradually went back down to where I ended up doing 1 twice a day again. And after that time period, I have never had any issues in that area since. I literally, the kids, the grandkids, any of them, if I can have pressure over that area, the grandkids could, if I'm laying on the floor, they can come over and sit down on me. It doesn't hurt. And that all is directly related to the ProbioIQ, because I had done all kinds of cleansing over the years. Like I said, I'd eaten real healthy, had tried probiotics. Nothing made the difference until the ProbioIQ. So I am a big proponent of this product. So this is kind of exciting to me to get to share this product today. So I want to talk a little bit about the importance of good gut bacteria. It's important for memory, being able to think, being able to remember things, being able to recall in a timely fashion is really important. A lot of people don't realize that when we are developing in utero, the cells actually split that tie the enteric nervous system and then the central nervous system. And therefore, when your gut bacteria is out of balance in the gut, it actually cannot communicate with the brain as efficiently at all. You need to have correct strains to be able to have that conversation happen. So it's kind of like the old Verizon commercial where they say, "Can you hear me now?" Because when that bacteria is up and running and healthy, you will be able to have that direct correlation. Good gut bacteria helps to regulate the bowels. It's not uncommon at all when people start the ProBio that they start having their bowels move more regular. In fact, it sometimes is one of the first things I start using to help getting a bowel up and moving more regular, because it's gentle, it's getting that bacteria in there and helping the bowel to do what it's designed to do. Good bacteria is also very important in digestion. It's also important for mood support. There's a big percentage of our mood that is actually dictated by the health of our gut and that good bacteria. And keep in mind, you always have both good and, as they say, the bad bacteria in there. It's just really about who's running the show. We want the good guys in charge, kind of like in life. The immune system support, with one of our, as I said, our frontline defense, actually a lot of it comes in the gut. We also have certain strains that are important for vitamin B synthesis And we can also support the metabolism. There's multiple studies out there that show anytime someone wants to work with weight loss, there is an advantage that happens for people that are on a good probiotic or have good gut bacteria already up and functioning in their gut. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to Tammy Bontrager and ask her to unmute and share a story that she has regarding the ProbioIQ.
All right. Hi, everyone. Okay, so when I first got introduced to Solle, one of the things that I really struggled with was the gut issues. And that caused like even anxiety and all of that. So I started ProBio, and that's where I really noticed just helping with the gut and complete. That was something that healed and then really helped me. But what I was going to talk to you about today was I'm so excited. I love ProBio because, one, it keeps me regular, and I have never really had an issue with that. But just recently, and it's kind of one of those, oh, where did that go? I think it got stuck behind something in the refrigerator, and so I kind of quit using it. And I was like, what is going on? Why? As if any of you've heard Valerie teach, the trains were not moving it like they should have been. So anyway, I was like, what is going on? And I just wasn't normal. So, and I realized it's the ProBio. So I got back on that, and life is good. So, but anyway, what I was going to talk to you about though is I love it for any time that we start having any type of sickness, any of the kids or family members or whatever, or headaches. What I will do is take quite a few, like probably 3 to 4 in the morning, and then I will continue to take 1 to 2, depending on, like how sick or how bad the headache or anything like that is. And then I'll just take 1 to 2 pills every hour afterwards. And the first time that I tried this, I had the most intense headache I think I've ever had. And I had called Valerie and I was like, what do I do? I can't even, it was so bad. And so that's what she had told me to do. And now I do that all the time with my family members, just have them take quite a few at the beginning of the day, and then just every hour. And it seems like it will knock it out so quickly. So I love it for that.
Thank you, Tammy. I absolutely love the results you've gotten with that. And probiotic is something we can't live without. And I'm glad that you got the opportunity to prove to yourself what a difference it makes for you. So let's talk a little bit about what can impact the gut biome. For instance, stress can. So think about it. When we're stressed, one of 2 things often happens with people. Well, actually, maybe 3. We can either have the bowels just dump. We can have to where we stress eat. And then because of our stress, we can't digest and work with the food. Or we we don't eat. It just is one of the 3. So no matter what, stress is going to have an impact on the gut biome. Medications, and in particular, pain medications or antibiotics can have a major impact, but in essence, any medication will impact it, because when we think of medication, we're talking about something synthetic. C-sections and vaginal births definitely affect the gut biome. So in a vaginal birth, when the baby's born, they call it being indoctrinated. As the baby passes through the birth canal, it gets indoctrinated with that good bacteria. And then for C-section births, because the baby's not going through the vaginal area and they're lifting the baby out through the surgery, they're missing that opportunity for that indoctrination. So that can definitely affect the gut biome. So keeping in mind that is one of the things that I will ask people, what type of birth that they had, because it lets me know how they started out life. Whether they're bottle fed versus being breastfed, the maternal gut biome. So otherwise what you're eating does impact the baby when the baby's being formed. Lack of diversity in the diet. I was reading about an indigenous culture. I think that they were in either in Australia or New Zealand, that they had the most diversity in their diet of all the cultures in the world. And as a result, they didn't deal with issues of cancer, very little cancer. They didn't have obesity issues. Their immune system was stellar, but it had to do with so many different plants in particular that were in their diet. So they were constantly getting new foods, new bacteria, and being put into that culture there. A lack of prebiotics in the diet. Otherwise, the proper foods that help to support the gut flora in growing. So it's not just that we throw the good bacteria in there. We have to have a good environment for it to be able to grow in. Drinking too much alcohol can definitely impact our gut biome. And believe it or not, our levels of physical activity will increase and affect the type of gut bacteria we've got. Smoking, of course, kind of makes sense. Sleep deprivation. And I think one of the studies I saw showed that just an adjustment in a 48-hour period could impact the gut biome. So whenever I'm looking at people who are having issues with insomnia, or maybe they changed with their shift work, or like, because remember, Troy's retired from the military, so we would have people that would end up working swing shift that all of a sudden would end up with immune system issues. Well, sleep deprivation and changing that affects the body clock, which is going to affect that gut biome. So now I'd like to share the stage with Micah Engel. If you would unmute yourself, my dear, I would love to hear about how you have used the ProbioIQ.
There we go. Can you see me? Because I've got the light on my head. I'm sitting by the window, but it seems like it's so dark.
You're good.
Okay. So Valerie was talking about C-section births, and my little soul baby, Parker, he was a C-section. So not only do I have some issues digesting, and I definitely have to take that probiotic every single day, Parker does too. Well, he's only 3. So how I give that to him is through his belly button. A lot of people think that's very strange, but trust me, it works. I actually open up the capsule. I mix it with a little bit of AC cream, and I put it in his belly button. It's better if you do it at night. He moves around so much that usually it tries to squish out just a little bit, but I cover it up with a Band-Aid. And if I put that in there, I put that, the AC cream and the probiotic in his belly button at night. It'll soak up through his skin. Our skin is the biggest organ that we have. So it soaks up through his skin, and that gives him the probiotic that he needs, especially when, he's having issues going to the bathroom, or, sometimes they need a little bit extra when they're out playing with friends and they get a little bug. So I like to give that to him, and it definitely helps him, but it helps me a lot too. For me, I actually prefer to take it every single day through my mouth, not in my belly button. And excuse me. I like to take that every single day, but actually I think that it helps me with my allergies as well. So taking that with my Soul Clear every single day helps me a lot. So
thank you, dear. That was awesome.
Add that. Sometimes maybe somebody doesn't want to take it orally. Okay, that's your preference, but I prefer it orally. Okay.
Love it. Thank you.
I'll be laughing all evening.
There you go. And so I was thinking that Micah was going to talk about that. So I put this out in a slide so people could see what we're talking about with the AC cream and the ProBio. And so one of the reasons that belly buttons work so well, both in infants, or if you have failure to thrive type situations, or let's say maybe you do have someone that can't swallow a capsule, or they're literally in a position that is not going to be an option. Opening that up and mixing it with some of the AC cream and putting it in that belly button, let's think about that. That is the first place that we start receiving food as an infant, as a baby, when we're still in utero. And believe it or not, that will always be an avenue that is an option. And it kind of is fun because little kids will get a kick out of it when you have a game with it and say, you know, we're going to try this or do this experiment and we're going to see where it is in the morning. So it's a great way to go beyond and get a good high quality probiotic in another methodology to use for them. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to Greg, where he's going to talk about Probionibacterium freudenreichii. And I just thought it'd be kind of fun to get a little bit more information and with a fun word to say at the same time.
Thanks, Valerie. My pleasure. And yeah, I like your minion there. I'll bet you I would actually like to hear the minions say it. I'll bet you it would be more correct than when I do, because that's a long word. And I did bring a few slides to show you. But here's the thing, you know, the first 5 strains that were in ProbioIQ were not just randomly, you know, they weren't just randomly chosen. There were several reasons. One of them was their variety and that they work different ways. Another reason was that several of the strains are heat resistant, so they don't need to be refrigerated. Even though we store them in a freezer here in the warehouse, Blake does. And we tell people, in the office as well, you know, if you have extra, keep your extra there. The one you're using, you're going to be fine. Because some of the strains are more heat resistant than others. And the third reason was that they have all been in studies that show, in addition to all this great work they do in what Valerie's taught us, they directly influence mood. These strains, those that we used in ProbioIQ. That's why we chose them. So what was so big that we thought we need to add a 6th strain to this formula? And it was really Dr. Allison, once again, bringing us into some information that really is all over Europe, particularly in Germany, and I think in the UK, but not so much here, about this strain. Named after its really, I don't know if they discovered it so much as they made it well known, and they studied it, these scientists, and they showed some of the benefits of this strain. I mean, for starters, not all probiotic strains, as amazing as they can be, do all that well in humans. A lot of them do. And we probably haven't even, I don't know, Valerie, we probably haven't even scratched the surface, huh? Really understanding all the different strains. But of those that we know, we do know some that don't survive really well. Like Valerie said, a lot of things we do in life destroy them, and some are pretty fragile. But others are really durable. This is one of the durable ones. Not only that, it sticks well to the gut wall. We got to do what Valerie said still. We need to provide prebiotic environment. We need to not be too acidic. I mean, there are things that all probiotics need, but this strain does really well. And it makes all sorts of good stuff for us. The longer I'm around and I listen to people like Valerie, people like Allison, I learn more and more how much of the nutrient blend that we absolutely need every day comes from the probiotics. And that if we're damaging them, or if we have a low level, we're not getting the nutrients. And it explains a lot of things that we go through. I mean, short chain fatty acids are produced by this strain, and they protect our intestinal lining. They protect against abnormal cell development. They help us develop minerals. In fact, absorb minerals. Did you know that in the Soul Kitchen right now, we've been working a little bit with Valerie, Dr. Allison. One of the things that this strain does is it produces one of the highest amounts of vitamin K2. So K1, not K1, which we can get from plants, K2, which we have to get from our friendly flora. I've only seen one other strain that produces a higher amount, and it's not heat resistant. This one's heat resistant. It'll survive in room temperature. It'll thrive. And so we love what it produces. It produces chemicals that will kill the bad guys. Like Valerie said, we want the good guys in control. So not only does this produce a lot of good things and a lot of nutrients, it actually produces things that inhibit the overgrowth of things we don't want and cause us trouble. It is antifungal, it is antiviral. And that's a slide to take a picture of right now, because one thing we can control is our environment inside. That's one thing we can absolutely control. We can strengthen ourselves. I love Valerie's story. I loved it, Valerie, because I think everyone should do that once. And maybe with every product, where you twice a day figure out what you're going to take and you slowly step it up to a point where you see the body using it to make change. It might be a little bit of a healing crisis, you know, but it's good. That always means good things are coming in my view. And then you can back it right back down and go and be back to a good daily dose. I mean, I love that story. We made a lot of, noise about the B vitamins with this strain, because it's the first one that we're aware of that produces enough B12, which a lot of people buy and they spend a lot of money on, and it comes commonly in a form that we don't use very well, that it's incredibly inefficient. There's a very common form of B12 that we don't get much in us. This is a really bioactive form. And Propionibacterium freudenreichii makes a ton of it. And, I mean, relatively speaking, enough to where you can put it, it's listed in several, I don't know, Valerie could probably tell us, I can't remember if it was Germany, UK, at least a couple of the codes in this country for as a nutritionally significant or viable source of B12. This is listed. That's the only probiotic that we know of that's listed that way. And some other B vitamins, and Valerie mentioned that. So this one's really good at the Bs, and particularly B12. Dr. Allison, this is just another slide from her presentation, and she talked about how another common form of B12 from a very common and really actually quite a healthy thing. Spirulina is wonderful. Okay, this is a good thing. But the B12 that comes in there, it turns out is not a great source. It's good at plenty of other things, so that's okay. Not every plant's great at everything, or every plantimal, right? In the case of the algae. But this particular probiotic does produce a B12 that's amazing. And yes, it got this official status now in the US, GRAS status here as well, generally regarded as safe. I always laugh at that term, but it's a big deal to get it. It's very, very difficult. A lot of years of studies have to go in to get it granted in a substance. We're pretty slow with that. So we like that. And then the final point, I just like this one. It actually generates energy, a little bit of electricity in the body, which I like. I just think that's interesting. It's, energy's life. This is an interesting strain, and it does so much, so we had to add it. That's why we messed with our synergy and took that leap to bring another strain in. And we've loved what we've seen. We love the ProBio now with the Propionibacterium freudenreichii.
Thank you, Greg. And I love the part with the energy too. I'm just like you, because think about adding energy into that whole area to aid in digestion. It makes sense as a great place to put that. So thank you for sharing that part. Okay, let's go back to where we were here. All right, and at this point, whoops, let's go, there we go. It is time to hear from Shauna Kaufman and her story when it comes to the ProbioIQ.
Hey, so yeah, I love the energy thing. My dad said we all needed a little charge or shock every now and then, so I'll just hit that every day. Thank you very much. Because of Valerie, I took a ProBio probably 17, 18 years. So when this came out, I immediately switched. I didn't care if I was even finished with the old because I wanted the new. And I did it not knowing everything that I know now. But at that time I had irritable bowel and really bad candida overgrowth. I knew it, but Valerie put that in perspective for me. And it was a big deal because I was either constipated or, you know, as you know, the other realm. And I would have to, because of the irritable bowel, I would carry a change of clothes with me everywhere. It was embarrassing. And so for a very long time, that was my life. I love this because as things have evolved over the last couple of years, I do 2 to 4 of these. Sometimes I'll pop 6 to 8, depending on what's going on. And I don't even know why. I just know that, okay, I've gotten some contamination in something that I'm not supposed to have, whether that's wheat, gluten, whatever. It doesn't matter. I can just tell, so I'll up it. If I eat dairy, dairy's really bad for my gut and my thyroid, but it will cause me to have cystic acne. So I'll increase my probio, and overnight those will dissipate almost, which is pretty incredible. If you've ever had those, they're painful and ugly and humiliating. But the other thing that probably helped was my reflux. And I stepped back and thought about that because, I mean, I haven't, with the digestive enzymes in this, I haven't had reflux medicine in probably at least the 8 years I've been doing it. So that was a big deal. One other thing was, and this is really important to me because it's the mind and body, but it's been, let's see, I have to think about years now because I've worked from home for 12. So about 16, 17 years ago, while I was still in the office doing the same job I'm doing now, I would sit at my desk and not be able to remember formats I had done for 20 years. And that was very humbling, scary. I didn't know what was happening in my body. But when I started this, I've not had those instances. You guys, that's a big deal. So that tells me healing the gut is a major component. And so this is one thing I won't ever run out of, but to do 4 a day is common for me because I do have malabsorption and celiac, and it's a lifestyle for me. I have to be diligent about what I put in. So the ProBio is wonderful. And Tammy, like she said, the Solle Complete, my day is not complete until I start with Solle Complete and 2 ProBio. That's how I start my day. So it sets the tone for everything I'm going to put in. So anyway, and I could probably tell you more, but that's enough for me.
Thank you, Shauna. Thank you very much. Awesome. So we want to look at how we can improve our gut biome. There's a couple obvious things, or at least they are to be: eating fermented foods. There's, like we said, there's lots of different types of bacteria. Eliminating artificial sweeteners because it will inhibit growth of the bacteria. Eating the prebiotic type foods. If you have the opportunity to breastfeed your child for at least 6 months, you are helping them set their gut biome stage for life. Eating whole grains. As we talk about, eating your foods as whole and unprocessed as possible. Obviously, if you have an allergy to grains, you shouldn't be eating it. But if you don't, eating them in the whole format. Trying a plant-based diet can be very beneficial. Taking antibiotics only when necessary. Even with Troy, I mean, obviously, well, not obviously to everyone, we don't have all the medicines in the house, but when he got so ill, we had to use the antibiotics. But he came back with hard courses for many months of the ProbioIQ and other fermented foods to get that culture back in his gut. Eating your foods that are rich in polyphenols, which are going to help to reduce inflammation. Playing in the dirt. As a culture, my belief is, and a lot of people agree, that we're too clean. Getting dirty helps to boost our immunity and helps expose us to different bacteria to help support the system. Increasing your fiber intake via food choices and good vibrations. The good vibrations has some prebiotic material in there as well. And taking ProbioIQ, which we're obviously a fan of here. So I like to use this as an example when people are coming to me and saying, you know, here's what's going on. So I give them an example, say about working at the core. If you have taught your child how to drive and you loan them the vehicle for the first time and they go out and take a drive, and while they're driving, they see the oil light come on. And they get excited because they're like, oh my gosh, I know what to do. and they reach, into the glove box or in their purse, and they pull out a Band-Aid and they put it over it. They come home bragging, saying, look, Dad, Mom, I took care of the issue. Did they really? No, you can't see the oil light going, but it's literally just been covered up. What we want to do when we're working for health is actually get in at the foundation or the roots. And one of the main places to work, in my belief, is getting in and working on getting that gut up and functioning ideally, because that's where we're taking in our food source. And if we can't break down, assimilate, and absorb the nutrients out of our food, then how are we going to be able to use it as nutrients to support ourselves, our body? Think about it like the tree. Feeding our roots the good nutrition is going to help make for that beautiful trunk, branches, and eventually gorgeous leaves and foliage to make a good, strong, secure tree. And for those of you that don't know, you want that base of a tree, the root system, to be equal to or larger and well balanced out, just like the top of the tree. So when it gets a storm, it's not necessarily knocked over. So that when we have one area of the ground where maybe the nutrients aren't available, they can pull it from the other area. So that's what we're doing. With the Bella Health Package, we're getting in and we're supporting the pH, getting the minerals, we're supporting getting the adaptogens in, which, remember, every Solle product is based on a foundation of having these good adaptogens in there to help the body find its ideal healing point. And Solle Vital has 6 of those adaptogens in it. With the Cinnamate, we're coming in supporting our digestive tract, getting that energy in there to help be able to assimilate, help to balance our blood sugar. The Vertizymes, we're not only calming a system that is often overwhelmed because it's challenged with breaking down food, not only from that comes with aging, people don't produce enzymes the same way that they used to, or it's coming from unfortunately, the standard American diet that so many people eat. And then the ProbioIQ, we have just talked about that in depth. So when people ask, where do I start? This is my favorite place to get in and run with. And I think this is one of the reasons that Solle has been so successful from the get-go, because we had all of these products at the beginning, and we were setting out this path to an ideal target that was going to make a massive difference in our health. So I had a little bit different for a quote this time. And to me, this makes sense. And it's tying back to exactly what we just talked about. And this is a quote from Ben Franklin. It says, for want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, a horse was lost. For want of a horse, a rider was lost. For want of a rider, the army was lost. For want of an army, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the war was lost. For want of a war, the kingdom was lost, and all for the want of a little horseshoe nail. So to me, this means addressing the basic thing right when it shows up before it can multiply and become something so much bigger. Think of how many things that we said were affected and impacted by the gut. By getting in and working on that good gut health, look at all the things you can impact. Your brain health, talking about having a good outlook in life. We're talking about immune system, all of it. It's all there. So to me, that's why this quote is just so apropos. So next week, next Monday night, we're going to get empowered by learning more about Solle Maca XD and supporting the hormonal system. So I hope that everyone will end up joining us next Monday night. But right now, I want to challenge everyone to think about who you know that probably would benefit from adding a good probiotic into their life. And like I said, for me, I was such a great test case because I didn't have what the average person is dealing with health-wise. And I did eat the better diet, yet I had such a profound impact by adding this probiotic into my life, so much so that I don't miss it. And it's been 8 years of using it every single day. So at this point, I would love to hear if anybody else has any information or thoughts that they want to share. Jump on in.
Valerie, while someone else is talking or thinking about talking, I just wanted to add two quick things. One, Shauna, I'm with you on the cystic acne. I would get them 2 to 3 times a year, and you'll probably laugh, I don't know. Always before events and conventions. This is for the 20 years, Valerie knows, before we founded Solle, because I always would do most of the emceeing, a lot of presenting. There was a lot of people, and but I would get those, and they were the cystic kind. They're weeks, no matter what you did, you know. But anyway, since Solle, I can remember getting 2, and they didn't get full blown. They started to get about 2/3 of the way, and then they went back down twice in now 8 years instead of multiple per year. So I didn't even think about that till you shared your story. But I haven't had that. I still almost got a couple, so I know I've still got work, but it's really changed. And the other thing is I had 2 stories, 2 testimonials, Valerie, to share. One, and they were both someone that I wish could have known you, because this was early. This was the first year of Solle. And if they would have known, because we had all those products, you made me think of it when you taught about Bella Health. All those products in that package we had. And I really wish that I could have gotten these people to try it. But there was a young man, there was one young man who my wife was doing triathlon, Ironman triathlons for a while. And this guy was doing them all the time, like several a year, and just very, very busy, and had been totally taken out of the game because of intestinal issues, and there was irritable bowel. It was the Shauna story. And we got him to just do ProBio. That one thing fixed it. In a matter of days, he came in a week later and said, I need to know what else you guys have, because that's changed everything. And I've been fighting this for a year. So more to that story, but it really did happen that fast. It really did. The other one was a 19-year-old who had been living in Italy for 2 years. His parents lived in our neighborhood. And I've shared this before, so maybe you've heard it, but he had been really sick for the last year. He was doing a volunteer service out there, voluntary work, and in and out, had gone to several hospitals in Rome. And interestingly, the doctors there had prescribed probiotics. I was quite impressed, but none of it fixed it for him. So his parents happened to live by someone who I don't know if you knew Whitney, if you ever met Whitney Smith, Valerie. Well, Whitney had heard about us, and she had told his parents, they were open to natural things, and they had tried some cleanses and everything. They tried a few things, okay? Nothing was fixing it. Things moved it a little, but nothing fixed it. When he got home, about a week after he was home, his best friend had their wedding. And I happened to be there. Donna and I were at the reception. And in that period of time, in that 1 week that he's home, he'd been suffering this for a year. They'd mailed stuff, not our products, other people's natural products, okay? In Italy, he'd gone to 2 or 3 hospitals, different doctors had tried different strains of probiotics there. So they told me, when I told him, I thought about ProbioIQ when I listened to what he had to say, or what his parents described. And they said, oh, he's already tried a lot of probiotics. I said, I know, but he hasn't tried this one. Okay, and so that was all I said to him. Thankfully, they trusted me. When he got home, he had a brand new bottle waiting for him. He actually took, I think he took one, because he's still thinking like drugs and medicines and things, because he tried a few other things too. And then they talked him into taking the second one at night. In 2 days, what in his case at that point, he hadn't had a bowel movement in weeks. He had told me it had been weeks. He was miserable, and I don't know how long, okay, but it was a long time that he hadn't had it. And immediately had one. When I saw him, it had been 1 week later, he was just taking 1 a day, maybe 2. He's a big 6'5" kid. Saw Donna and I at the reception, came right over and gave me this big bear hug. He said, you don't know how long I've been suffering. And he told me more of his story in Rome, in Italy, and then coming back, and he goes, just this one little thing. So I just wish he knew you, because I'm thinking, there's probably more going on. And if he got on a really good full program, he'd be surprised how much even better he could feel. But anyway, those are my two stories with just little old ProbioIQ.
It really is amazing to me how powerful that probiotic is. Did anyone else have anything that they wanted to share? I know that Tammy Peterson typed what she typed in here. Oh, Tammy Peterson was saying that she was the same as you, Greg, and always before big events, including her wedding, she ended up having to deal with that. So
I hear you. It's not fun.
Okay, can I tell this? I just had a gal text me and was having some yeast issues, vaginal yeast problems. And so anyway, putting the probiotic inserted vaginally does wonders. So for the women, sorry, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very beneficial, and especially since it's the antifungal, it really does help with candida, so, and yeast.
How much did she, Tammy, how many capsules did she tell you? Did she
Just one capsule at night.
okay.
So I don't know, Valerie, would it be better to increase that, or?
Because it's such a strong drawing agent, when you use it that way, just using one capsule at night inserted seems to be sufficient. And then the consistency, doing it nightly, works very, very well.
Yeah.
Michelle, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, you know, I've taken probiotics for years and years and years, and I really suffered from depression before starting Soul Naturals. And I never really, I took adaptable like everybody else who had depression when they started Soul. And of course, I got to the point where I didn't even need to take adaptable anymore. But I don't even know what started me taking probiotics for, you know, they're just the occasional anxiety. Really, it's food related. You know, I've just discovered the lactose in ice cream with the combination of sugar just sets me off on a spiral for about 2 days. And the probiotics, I just can't even believe, even after all these years, I can't believe how well it works mentally to clear things up. It's just, I've never had digestion issues like others, or, you know, irritable bowel, but so I don't notice a big difference with that because it's not really an issue for me. But wow, the emotional aspect is huge, especially when I eat something that triggers it. And it's just shocking to me still to this day how well that works.
Like I said, I'd heard for years and years and years that it was supposed to be this big deal, and it just never was. And now it is such a big deal what we could do with that little bottle of ProbioIQ. So I'm thankful for it every day. So thank you everyone for joining us, and I love the discussion afterwards, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.